Hi, this is Neil Giratana with Lucidus. What I'm going to show you today is how to use Git, the source control management system, with drush, the Drupal shell, to help you with your Drupal code commits. And the way that I'm going to show that is we're going to initialize a Git repository on a plain Drupal site, and then I'm going to show you how to include your database backup, a database backup, automatically every time you do a commit in Git. So, what I've got here is just a base Drupal website that I've installed and run the installer on. Okay, it happens to be sandbox.model.dev, so this is just a multi-site version of the website that I have installed. If I switch here, and I can show you the directory that sits in. So this is under model, sandbox.model. So sitting within this folder, I have HTTP docs, and that's the big one I care about. That's where all of my Drupal files are, like so. So step one is I need a directory that I can save my database backups to. So I'm going to make dir database. And now I have not only HTTP docs, but I also have database. I also want to take and initialize Git as a repository here. So I'm just going to do git init. What that does is it creates, if I look, a .git folder that contains all the information for Git. If I look at my Git folder, so right there, there's a folder within called hooks. That hooks directory, and let's go ahead into that, has several example files for hooks, which are shell scripts that run during certain times when you're using Git. So, and you can sort of guess, well, every time, I have a message apply patch, every time I do post receive, a pre-commit, a post-commit, right? So after I've done a commit, if pre-apply patch. These are scripts that can run to do things for me. And these are examples. They don't run presently because the executable flag is not here, so the executable bit. So what I'm going to do is I care about pre-commit, because what I want to do is take a database backup every time I do a commit, and the advantage to that is then I have a full snapshot, not just code, but the database as it existed at that time. So I'm going to get the example commit file out of the way. So I'm just going to rename it. And then I'm going to create my own. And let me just paste in some code here. Okay. So what do I have in here? I have a shebang up top that says this is going to be a shell script. I'm going to set an error message such that if anything fails along the way, this script will stop running and return an error code such that the commit itself fails. So if I don't get a database backup, I'm not getting my commit. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change directory from my root directory where the Git repository starts into HTTP docs sites defaults. Now, as I mentioned, I'm running multi-site. So the advantage there is I can show you how to do this with multi-site also. So all I'm going to do is change this to my multi-site directory. Okay. Next line is my drush statement. So all this is the path to where drush lives, and then drush SQL dump, which is an ordinary drush statement with some ordinary flags. Structured tables key equals common. If you're not familiar with this flag or parameter on the drush statement, what this says is, look, leave out this listing of common structure tables key. What I want to do is I don't want every time I do a backup to include the cache tables. There's no point in including all of my cache tables with a database backup. They'll be regenerated if I were to do a restore. But I do need the structure of those tables. So what this says is, look, bring in all the tables that are listed in the definition for common, which are things like the cache tables, but leave out the data. Okay, leave in the structure, leave out the data. Result file is where I designate where should this dump end up. In this case, result file says relative to the Drupal website's root directory. So in my case, it's HTTP docs. Okay, relative to that, let's go up one folder, then into the database folder, and then into database.sql. So we'll take a look. I think we have to create that database folder still. But what this is going to do is it's going to go into that root directory, into database SQL. Then it's going to go up 3 levels. So currently I'm sitting under HTTP docs, sites, sandbox.model. So this brings us back to that directory that's up above HTTP docs. It would add the database folder database.sql file into the commit that's happening. So this is immediately before our commit. And then it's going to exit with success. So this exit 0 says, yeah, it worked. Go ahead, continue your commit. So I'm going to save and exit. You can take a look. And so I now have this pre-commit that I just created. Okay, got a little different timestamp here. I need to chmod it and add executable for the user. So I'm going to do execute pre-commit. Okay. And now if I look again, I can see that I have the executable bit on this one, so this one will run. Okay, so now we're done with our Git stuff and our hooks. Let's go up a couple directories, and we're back to that same directory that was above HTTP docs. And yeah, actually I did remember to create the database folder earlier, and I have this Git directory. So next step is, obviously, I still haven't added actually the HTTP docs into this repository. So I'm going to do git add HTTP docs. And now, if I take and do a git commit, -m, adding HTTP docs, space install, it added all of those files into the system, okay? And I can see it added that in, but I can also see, if I look in my database directory, database.sql, and you can see that right there. So it generated that file and it committed it into the Git repository. So now if I were to need to do a Git clone or something else, I actually have the database, and every time I do a commit from here on out, I also get the database included in that commit. So hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, by all means, give me a shout. I am on Twitter at Lucidus, Lucidus_Neil, Neil. Thank you.